That was the tragedy, sadly.
Watson's got to go back to the bench fight and keep his hands up.
The referee's on the verge of stopping it.
He stopped it!
He stopped it!
Unbelievable!
Oh, no!
Unbelievable!
That is the most incredible end to a world title fight I have ever, I repeat, ever seen in my life.
I was just going to get ready to have a go at the referee, Roy Francis, who was a very, very good referee. But I felt him sink in my arms, and I thought, oh yeah, I thought it was tiredness, fatigue. But then he collapsed and laid on the floor.
I felt my spirit leave my body, and then I collapsed, and everything went blank.
And I didn't know my son was so badly damaged.
The first thing I remember at the fight being in the ambulance. That's what I remember. Being on the stretcher. Like a nightmare.
He was raced down to the wrong hospital. It took 45 minutes for him to get any real medical assistance. It was very, very worrying for everyone.
The medical team struggled as Michael fought his hardest battle ever, one of sheer survival. Rushed to St Bartholomew's Hospital, neurosurgeon Peter Hamlin performed the first of many operations.
He was clearly in a very critical condition from minutes after the fight. And by the time he got to us at Bart's Hospital, more than an hour after his injury, things were really very serious indeed.
When I realized how serious my son was, I was in shock.
We were told that Michael Watson has no chance. We were told he has no chance and he would never live a normal life.
Family and friends all gathered at Michael's bedside.
It's a night I would like to live over again.
Michael's real fight only just begun.
Michael Watson remains critically ill and on a life support system in the intensive care unit at St Bartholomew's Hospital, following a second emergency operation to remove a blood clot from his brain.
During the night, he has remained critically ill and on life support. His condition deteriorated during the night, requiring a further brain scan in the early hours.
He was struggling to survive for well over a month in the intensive care unit, day by day, hour by hour. To have done that for what was 40 days was extraordinary.
Looking at him on that bed, it was a frightening thing.
His mum's a Christian lady, and she said, no, he'll pull through. She had faith that he would pull through.
The likelihood was for several weeks that he would die.
It was the darkest time of Michael's life.
I was all crying in the hospital ward. I was saying to myself, is this for real?
For Michael to communicate with you, you ask him, if you're in pain, give me a blink, and he would blink because he couldn't talk. You have to start all over like a baby in everything.
Life is too precious to quit.
News of his struggles spread worldwide, reaching one special fighter who Michael had always adored.
A childhood hero of mine appeared on the ward, a man we all know, Muhammad Ali. It's the most extraordinary event in my life to find a man such as that appearing on our ward to go visit my patient.
I saw this huge figure come through the door, right? I recognized his face and said, wow, Michael Watson. I can't believe this. This man's Muhammad Ali. I can't believe this. You're not a bad looking man, are you? You're not a bad looking man, are you? Not as good looking as me.
That gave Michael a boost, you know, and it gave me a boost as well. It gave the family a boost.
Until that point, Michael really just looked as if he was surviving each day. There was no joy in what he was going through, and it must have been incredibly hard. And for the first time, I saw him really interact, and that smile that we've all learned to love.
Michael was transferred to Homerton Hospital, where he began his long rehabilitation.
They had to put me in a standing frame to loosen my joints, like Frankenstein.
Michael's recovery was a grueling process, as he had to relearn the basics of existence. He was taught how to breathe, eat, walk, talk, and dress himself all over again. Michael continued to astound the experts over the next 2 years.
As soon as he started getting better, you know, he could relate and speak with you and that, then they called for me to sit in and look after Michael.
Lenny, that remarkable helper, always would drive him on. Michael, in the early days, would say, "I want to sit down now." Lenny would say, "Not now, we're going to sit down in a minute. We'll just carry on for a little longer."
I believe that Michael would walk out of this in a great way.
In 1993, Michael Watson attended his first public event since the accident, a celebrity football match at his beloved Highbury, organised by Ambrose Mendy. It was a chance to raise money for Michael and was an emotional time.
It was just floods of tears, and Kevin Campbell, Wrighty, did a lap of the stadium. Michael was exhausted, he was hugely crying, but it had happened. And again, what it did for him, you know, and you understand the realisation that people do care.
In 1994, Michael issued a writ against the British Boxing Board. It put in motion the case for damages, which would not only compensate for the lack of efficient medical attention at ringside, but also ensure that boxing was safer in the future.
It was quite a blow, knowing that, you know, in a profession like boxing, they never had the right facilities. You know, the ambulance took him to the wrong hospital. He had to be driven back to another place. It was really, it was just heartbreaking.
At the time, I think Michael was not well served by the British Boxing Board of Control. Michael had to sue the Boxing Board of Control because he had no income.
The 9-year legal wrangle ended in victory. The board was found negligent and liable for compensation for Michael's injuries.
There is no compensation for the sort of disability that Michael is going to have to live with. But from tragedies, we always have to learn. A lot has been learned from Michael's individual case. Things are different for boxers today. They're different also in other sports as a result of what has been played out so publicly in Michael's case.
Now the British Boxing Board of Control are probably the best in the world. We have, for example, anaesthesiologists ringside, we have paramedics, we have annual MRI scans, and the rules are so much better.
Indeed, many boxers have now benefited from the new rules which have been implemented since Michael's injury. Spencer Oliver was knocked out in a European super bantamweight title defence in 1998 and suffered a blood clot. The medical help he received in the ring was in sharp contrast with Watson's.
They call it the golden hour, and they say that you've got to get, you know, operate on within that hour to, you know, to stop any damage or any serious damage being done. And for me, really, I benefited from what happened to Michael because I had a nurse that was working in my corner. When he seen me going in and out of consciousness, fortunately for me, they decided to put me in, they sedated me and put me into a coma, and that effectively saved any damage. Michael really was my inspiration.
Michael continues to inspire the people around him and those that have followed his progress from afar. Throughout his ordeal, he's refused to blame his opponent, Chris Eubank, and the pair were reunited in 2001 amidst highly emotional scenes.
I've been praying for you, Chris. You're forgiven.
Michael has this fantastic ability to say What's happened has happened. It's God's will, and my job is just to get on with it. In simple words, but the hardest thing in the world to do.
Michael's never shied away from a challenge.
He and I were talking about the marathon. Somehow it came out that if I'd do it, he'd do it. And if he'd do it, I'd do it.
And I took him seriously. Oh yes, without a doubt.
This is a guy who, a few months before that, he was lucky to walk across the room, let alone 26 miles.
When Michael said that he wanted to do it, I was quite confident, because when Michael says he's going to do something, he does it, you know, and he will do it wholeheartedly.
Michael trained with the same mindset in which he prepared as a prize fighter.
Lenny, Michael and myself, we were accidentally shuffled into the elite athletes pen. So you had a rather unfit neurosurgeon with a hemiparetic ex-boxer and his carer pottering around the elite athletes enclosure with people like Paula Radcliffe warming up. So we start the marathon after everybody else, and within about 10 minutes the dustbin vans that come along behind the marathon to clear everything up had overtaken us.
The dog days are over, the dog days are done, the horses are coming, so you better run. Run fast for your mother, run fast for your father, run for your children, for your sisters.
I love to overcome the odds. I've been saying no way would I be able to do it, but it's been predicted I'll never walk again and I'll never talk again. Well, look what I'm doing now.
He was very inspired by the public, as he always is.
Good time to remember doing that walk. Can all look back on them days. It will never be forgotten.
Michael said he just wanted to stop and talk to this boy, and there's a boy with his parents, and he was in a wheelchair, and they believed that he wasn't going to walk again. He had a very bad injury. Michael simply said to this child, "You need to get out of your chair." And there was this immense shaking of the chair as the kiddie really struggled, and up he stood, and then took a few steps. Everybody was sort of gasping. His parents ran up, he sat back down in the chair again, and it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen.
Walking the last mile of the marathon with him, what he would have suffered to actually do that over that 6-day period, again, is a testament to his irrepressibility. You know, he is and has been unstoppable.
It was an amazing triumph for Michael, taking him 6 days and 2 hours to complete the marathon. He'd been the people's champion as a boxer. Now he was an even more inspirational figure to a far wider audience. Michael went on to receive acclaim with an award for courage and achievement. Then he was rightfully recognised with an MBE.
We went to Buckingham Palace. We saw the Queen.
The Queen said to me, "I'm a remarkable man."
And Michael turned around and he said, "You're a remarkable woman." You know, it just sounded so cool.
Despite all his trials and tribulations, Michael Watson's at peace with the world and his role within it.
I'm the only person to receive awards. I want to live my life in reality by helping people.
One of the most startling lines I heard him come out with was that he thought his injury was a blessing, in that his life now is much better than it was. He's got a real job, which he enjoys immensely, and that he's doing good.
Despite everything taken from him, Michael continues to give, supporting the Teenage Cancer Trust and using his plight to encourage others.
I've been there.